What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Thursday edition of your new favorite credibility wrestling program. We call it the Coach and Bro Show. I am the coach, and my partner, as always, from russosbrand.com and driving the line, Mr. Vince Russo. And Vince, before we even get started, I got to tell you that your rant on Rant Wednesday has gone viral.
Yeah, the
about
MILFs.
all
I
the
talked about the
grandmothers.
MILFs. Yeah, the Mimas. The Mimas
Mimas.
I'd like to forget. The Mimas coming on to me in the jacuzzi, coach.
I hate to admit it, but I spent all day on Wednesday, and I couldn't get it out of my head. I could not get all the Mimas out of my head hitting on Vince Russo. You
That
said
could be
anybody
a
over
coach.
60.
That could be a spinoff, coach. How about that? I'll bring my
my
little phone down there. I'll film it for you, coach, if you want to see the action.
Do not tease me. Do not tease me. All right, what we do here at the Coach and Bro Show, we give you about 20, 25 good minutes of really good wrestling content because we have spent well over 15 years combined inside of the WWE. Then, if you're not a subscriber to Backstage Pass, I encourage you to do so. We have about another 15 premium minutes for you over there. But, Vince, this is going to be an interesting topic that we're going to start with because I watched a couple of your other shows. And you really thought that the whole Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fiasco was basically written like a very nice script. It was a great event, 70,000 people, $18 million gate. Everybody made a ton of money. But now we've got Jake Paul and Logan Paul as our first topic. Are you prepared for what I'm getting ready to play for you, Vince?
I am ready. I'm just blown away for how bad a worker Jake Paul was. Perhaps, I mean, his punches were worse than Seth Rollins. Enough said.
By the way, I watched Raw last week, and they got into a bear hug, and then Bronson Reed gave a big forearm. Well, he gave a forearm, and all I thought was you going, "Are these the worst punches?" That's all I can think. That's all I see now.
Drives me nuts,
And
coach.
it's just those two for some reason. It's just those two. I don't know what it is. It's like they've apologized to each other and say, "Hey, we're gonna give you mamby-pamby stuff." Oh my goodness. All right, so we I think as a group respect the wrestling mind of Paul Heyman. Do we not?
Yes,
He
we
says
do.
some of the
He's been around for a long time, and you've got to have a good mind in front and behind the camera to keep that spot for that long, coach.
Okay. So the respect is there. I agree with that. So this is Jake Paul on his brother Logan Paul's podcast called Impulsive, talking about what he would like his next role to potentially be.
And would you ever consider coming to the WWE?
So that is the Paul brothers. Now, normally, because full transparency, I work with Jake Paul at the PFL, and I've learned to really respect his ability to promote. But to refer to Paul Heyman as doing some sideshow shit is, I don't know if they quite understand what Paul Heyman brings to the table.
Coach, I got to push back on you a little bit.
Please.
I think these Paul brothers, I mean, coach, these guys are heat-seeking missiles.
That they are.
There is no doubt in my mind. I mean, Logan Paul has a ton of heat in the WWE. I would say more heat than anybody on the roster.
Dom has more heat than he does.
Okay, all right. That's arguable.
You're right.
Arguable, but
okay.
Logan Paul has a ton of heat. Bro, his brother came in being his mouthpiece. I could see these guys getting a ton of heat on them. I mean, these guys, hey, listen, coach, these guys know what they're doing. You know they know what they're doing when it comes to PR, publicity, marketing, making money. Bro, these guys know what they're doing.
I got to be honest with you. I am shocked that this is your initial reaction. I read you completely wrong.
Yes.
Because this is how I feel. My only negative in all of that was the kind of throwing it out there that, oh, I can do that. So, and Paul Heyman has created this thing. But just, yes, what you're saying 100% yes. And this is why they embrace that heat so much. And now the odds actually came out, by the way, on Jake Paul's next opponent. And it really screams how much people are starting to respect what you're talking about, what Jake Paul can do. They broke records, not only with a largest boxing combat gate in the history of the United States last week outside of Las Vegas, but now you've got Jake Paul wanting to do this. And all I've imagined all day getting ready for this is, my goodness, the fans will hate it, because part of the reason Logan Paul has so much heat is he's doing everything every wrestler on the roster wish they could do. And you know what that is? Dictate his own freaking schedule.
Yeah.
He shows up when he wants to show up. And when he does, he has a 5-star match. And that pisses everybody off because he's a natural. And there's very few naturals in this business, Vince, aren't there?
That's what I was going to say. Coach, how quickly did this guy get it? How quickly did his first promo was better than people that have been on that roster for 5 years cutting promos every
100%,
week.
100%.
He got it like this. That is a natural. That is, Coach, what we talk about, the it factor.
You could have guys all day. And I used to run the pre-tapes rooms, what we called it, and all day, girls, guys, running through my room, practicing promos, and I would watch them, and I've always been kind of a natural talker. I've always been pretty good at it, thank God. And as I'm watching these people, I'm thinking to myself, how come they can't do this? How come they can't just walk in and say, hey, hit 30 seconds? The Rock was the greatest. He walked in one time, and LL Cool J was sitting there, and I said, hey, I need 60 seconds, and he gave me 60 seconds, walked out, and never looked at to see if it was any good. Mm-hmm. And to me, you either have it or you don't. And now that Jake Paul's saying this, we've got to a point, because here's the deal, Vince. So at mybookie.ag, these odds just came out. Canelo Alvarez is only plus 900 to be his next opponent. You've got Ryan Garcia as like the 6th highest. You've got KSI, who is in business with Logan Paul in prime. So now we're starting to get not just MMA guys, but we're starting to get real boxers into the conversation. And why? You said it. They know how to make what?
They want the rub. They want the rub, Coach. They want the rub. The rub is money. They're not stupid. All these guys are in it to make money, and Jake Paul knows how to make money, period.
100%. 40 million to him, 20 million to Mike Tyson, and it's all guaranteed because it wasn't even a pay-per-view. It was straight Netflix. Yeah. And their stock, by the way, went up about 3% after last weekend.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, their stock is around $875 a share. So you're talking 3%. That's quite a jump. Yeah. That's quite a jump. So you can hate on them all you want, but if the WWE decided to do something and they did it right, it could be good, which kind of leads us, Vince, into our next topic. There have been reports out there, and I believe it was on Backstage Pass, was one of the first ones to kind of get it out there, that WWE is interested in doing something with Logan Paul and Mike Tyson. Now, as much as I love the Jake Paul, Logan Paul stuff, this topic, I don't know what would make sense there, or after what I saw with Mike Tyson last week, what he could even do at this point.
Well, Coach, the thing is, though, you and I were there long enough to really see that machine at work. Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, Coach, I went to a WrestleMania a couple of years back. I think the one that was in San Jose, maybe about 5 or 6 years back. I had not, the last WrestleMania I was at, I think was maybe WrestleMania 15. I think that was my last WrestleMania, 14 or 15. I don't remember. But I hadn't been to a WrestleMania for well over a decade. And when I went to San Jose, it blew me. They owned the town. I mean, Coach, you would go to a Hooters to relieve yourself, and right in front of you is a WrestleMania pole. Unbelievable job. So that's why I'm saying there is no doubt in my mind, whatever they decide to do with it creatively, again, man, they will make a boatload of money doing it. There's no doubt in my mind.
So you and I just missed each other because WrestleMania 16 was my first. So we were literally, you're walking out the door as I'm walking in. I agree with you a little bit, but in the age of social media and all these negative Nellies that watch wrestling now and love to pick it apart, they're going to go back to the video of Iron Mike in the 90s with Stone Cold Steve Austin and pushing and shoving in that incredible thing and business they did all those years ago. And then they're going to fast forward to now, and it's a 58-year-old version of that Mike Tyson. And some people say maybe he pulled some punches last week. I don't know. But if he still has it in him, he had some pretty good video of him training. If I can get that Mike Tyson into a storyline, I might buy into it, but not the Mike that didn't throw any punches. So
Yeah. I don't know, Coach. I just really wonder, as a boxer being put in that position, I just wonder how difficult it is to box holding back. I mean, that's got to be very difficult. It's got to be something he was not used to. When we're talking about pro wrestling, Coach, we're talking about a whole other animal. You know that they're going to go through this match 10 times from Sunday. They're going to know exactly what they're supposed to be doing in there. And quite frankly, I think a wrestling match between those two would look a hell of a lot better than the boxing match looked last weekend.
Well, what if they don't do either? What if they did this? Because there was a ton of interest in that fight. Now, would there be if we laid out this scenario? If Jake Paul shows up in Logan Paul's corner, they're talking trash, they're doing their thing, and then whoever Logan Paul is in a rivalry with or in a match with, he comes out and says, listen, I don't trust you guys for a second. And if you're going to have Jake Paul out here, I'm going to have a guy. But the problem with that is when we saw those two in the ring, it was very anticlimactic. But if they overlook that, what if Tyson is in the corner of said opponent and then Jake Paul is in the corner of Logan? You can bring that story forward and then see what potentially could happen. That might be one way to go about it, because a Logan Paul, Mike Tyson wrestling match, I don't know what you could pull out of Mike Tyson.
What if, Coach? A lot of what ifs here. A lot of what ifs here. I mean, listen, Will Washington's got nothing over us, Coach. Nothing on us. Coach, what if? Now, see, this would be a draw, Coach.
Okay.
Jake Paul is in Logan's corner. Tyson needs a corner man.
Who's going the other way now?
Who's obvious? Who's the obvious corner man for Tyson now?
Well, it would have to be, oh my gosh, I'm going to say something stupid. Not LA Knight, not God, what am I missing here? What am I missing?
Austin.
Oh,
you go back to it. You go back to it, Coach. You go back to it. Now you got him. Now you got him, Coach.
Can you imagine? My goodness, that's why you're the greatest of all time.
Serious? No, that's a no-brainer to me. I mean, easy.
Can you imagine the glass breaking? Oh my God. And you'd have to have somebody, oh my gosh, you'd have to have somebody talking for Tyson, then say, listen, this is not enough. And you could have so much going on there.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Austin lighting up Jake Paul? Can you imagine? People would go absolutely out of their minds.
I have a feeling he might lay a couple in. I have a feeling he might lay a couple in. From what I remember, I tell people all the time, you know, the first thing I ever did physically was SummerSlam 2003 when I attacked Shane McMahon with a chair 4 times. Like, it was the greatest feeling ever. But then as the physicality ensued, and here comes Stone Cold, and I still don't know to this day if it was Stone Cold or Shane, because I've never actually really watched the video back. But I got kicked so hard, Vince, in the kidneys that I couldn't breathe for probably 15 or 20 seconds.
Wow.
It's the only time in my life that I realized, A, I never want to drown, and B, this is what near death feels like.
Right. Wow.
So I don't know. It was definitely a kick from one of those two.
Well, at least they didn't mamby-pamby it, Coach.
There was no mamby-pamby.
No, it is no.
And it was actually in front of a large crowd and a lot of white wrestlers and black wrestlers. which is kind of how we're segueing into our next topic here on the Coach and Bro
Beautiful
Show.
work right there,
Thank you.
Coach. I knew what you were doing. I saw you doing it, Coach, and I'm like, this is why I'm on the coattails. This is why I'm hanging on to those coattails. Go ahead, Coach. Tell
we're
me.
just getting started. We're just getting started. So here's the deal. We try, and Vince, you and I have production meetings. We talk about it long and hard, and I say, Vince, we've got to be more positive about both companies. But Vince, when it's laid out right in front of us, when it's just right there, what are we supposed to do but hit it out of the park? So here is sound from the CEO and founder of AEW, Tony Khan, at a time when they're not putting more than 3,000 people in an arena, at a time when you've got a lot of issues. And he decided to come out on a podcast on CHGO Sports, and he had this to say. Producer man, roll sound.
Tony, for what you do with black wrestlers on your show, because you guys definitely push them forward, and even more so now, I see it. You definitely putting Swerve over for sure with the title, but bring in the Hurt Syndicate, as you mentioned, Ricochet, Leo Rush there as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Is that a conscious decision on you guys' part? And because I know you're not just pushing them because of their color, they have to have the talent too to do it. But tell me about that decision to be conscious about what.
Well, I think you just said it, Big Dave. I'm conscious of it, but I also think that these are all some of the best wrestlers in AEW you just named. So we're really lucky to have those great stars, and we've been fortunate to be able to build up some stars and also have a lot of great free agents come in, to where I think so many of the top wrestlers, some of the top black wrestlers in the world are in AEW. And I really think most of the top black wrestlers in the world are now in AEW.
All right. So a couple of things there, Vince. Apparently the co-host couldn't be bothered to pay attention because he was looking completely at something else.
Was that Chumley from Porn Stars? I think that was Chumley, Coach. I don't know, man. Who knows?
Stop it. It might have been. Who knows? I couldn't.
Coach, what about the black? What about the black poodle sitting on top of Tony Khan's head? What about that? Is somebody going to address that?
You talking about the lettuce?
Yeah.
Now I get a little. I don't even, because I have such a great bald head that I don't even get jealous anymore. People with great lettuce like yourself, because I feel like I kind of reinvented the baldness.
Very nice. Very nice.
But when you listen to that sound, and I would love to. No, I wouldn't. But I would be so good as a mouthpiece for Tony Khan, because he says and focuses on some of the dumbest things. But when he repeated himself, says, "Yeah, I thought he did really well," up until he repeated himself, and he goes, "Yeah, some of the best black wrestlers are here," and to me, that needs to be part of a bigger conversation and not be so obviously said. What did you make of them asking it and the way that he answered it?
Yeah, Coach, every time I see something like this, I just think of like myself, and what would the what would the response have been if Vince Russo had said that? He says we have the black wrestlers, the best black wrestlers in the world on our roster. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard anybody say we have the best white wrestlers in the world on our roster? Bro, that is as racist gets. And I just think of, if Vince Russo were ever to say that, forget it. That's the one thing about Tony Khan. Coach, you and I were in this business. And Coach, firsthand, man, you learn the do's and don'ts quickly. You learn what to say, what not to say, when to say it, when to keep your mouth shut. You learn that quickly. Tony Khan now has been going on for 5 years, and I don't know if he just doesn't hear himself, but he has learned absolutely nothing. I mean, whatever is on his mind comes straight out his lips. And to say that we've got the best black wrestlers on our roster, My God, bro, like that. If I do my show with Stevie Ray tomorrow, Black and White. I'm gonna play that clip for Stevie Ray, and I'm gonna see what Stevie Ray says about that clip.
There's going to be a lot of people out there that will say, who don't understand race at all, don't understand being a black man like myself at all. They'll say, what's the big deal? He was putting them over like $1 million. And as a black man in any business, whether it's sports, whether it's wrestling, the one thing we want to hear more than anything else is, just put me over. Don't put me over as a black star. Don't
Right.
put me over as a black wrestler. And I know he was just answering the question. But what I would have said is, listen, we take a look at all the greatest wrestlers. Have over time black wrestlers not been given the push? The answer would be yes. And if he's saying that, now he's saying it from a historical perspective.
Right.
And that's why that on the surface, the average person, and I'll say probably the average white viewer that we have, because we have a lot of both, just doesn't quite understand that part of it. Because if it was reversed, and he'd be like, man, you know, 70% of your roster is black, and you're bringing in some really good white wrestlers. I mean, you got some stars. Yeah, I think some of the best white wrestlers are. I mean, that would never happen.
Yeah, Coach.
It would never happen.
Yeah, I swear, Coach. I've been around Stevie and been educated by Stevie for so many years that like I'm sensitive to stuff like that now, because just hearing Stevie's point of view, just as a proud black man for the last 5 years, however long we've been doing the show, when I hear stuff like that, like I know immediately now, where in the past I would have felt the same way those other people felt. But, again, putting yourself in the shoes of a black man, like you said, why are you putting me over as a black wrestler and not just as a wrestler? Absolutely, Coach.
And I've been on Black and White. If anybody out there hasn't watched it, it's one of the great shows that Russo does. Because and this also brings up a bigger point, Vince, is that race in sports or race in wrestling should be a topic that is talked about, so that everybody gets an equal opportunity to be whatever their talent makes them to be. But there are not enough shows that talk about it, and so that's why shows like that. And I appreciated the question from them. I just think that Tony has brought over a lot of these wrestlers, not because they're great black wrestlers, but because, WWE didn't want them and I can get them.
Right.
And there was a lot of white guys like that too. And we've said the Hurt Business should still be in the WWE. There was no reason for them to get fired, especially with the lack of stars that they have right now.
Right.
They could use them.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I'll never forget, Coach. While I was watching it, the Hurt Business started just as the Black Lives Matter movement was starting. And I'm like, great, they're going to get their message across in a positive way. Because, Coach, let's talk black and white for a second.
Love to.
A lot of white people did not understand Black Lives Matter. They did not understand it. I understood it because Stevie Ray broke it down for me. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, what a great opportunity for 3 strong African Americans to put across Black Lives Matter in a positive way. Make white people understand what this means. And what did they do, Coach? They completely ignored it. Which was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there are very few times, Coach, where professional wrestling can really make a difference in the world. Something like that to educate the white people at that point in time could have been huge for the WWE. What did they do? They stuck their head in the sand. And who better to tell that story than MVP?
It is why they get criticized sometimes by a lot of us. Is there are certain topics that if you do them the right way and you dig in and you say, this is an important topic, then it becomes really good when really smart people, and you have a good round table and they're saying, listen, Why has it historically always been this way? Or if you're Tony Khan, say, listen, we understand in 2024 that everybody that watches pro wrestling, not just AEW, not just WWE, but pro wrestling, we want to make sure that they're represented. So
Right.
when a young kid out there says, can I do that? That he sees a face that looks like his. That is severely different than, yep, we're getting all of the good black wrestlers over here at AEW and then touting them as the great black wrestlers in, how about just, these are really great. They have to be a good faction, a faction that is African-American, and then try to get smart. But like you say, you got to write smart.
You got to write
give
smart.
them ideas.
And that was the problem. I'll tell you right now, Coach, and Vince was there at the time. Vince didn't understand what Black Lives Matter means. And you know, when Vince doesn't understand something, he's not going to be on board with it.
Correct. So we'll see. And I understand there's a lot of people that are watching this, and if anybody quotes us, get the whole damn quote right.
Yeah,
Don't
thank
just
you,
pick
Coach.
out 2 sentences,
Yeah.
because there's going to be a lot of you out there that go, oh, this was no big deal. He just answered the question. It's a bigger conversation that hopefully right here on Coach and Bro Show, and bringing Stevie Ray in and bringing others in, that we can all understand each other a little bit better.
Right.
And then have really positive discussions, and then maybe take it to the shows. That would be the ultimate. What's not the ultimate, Vince, is what happened on Wednesday night. And I'll be honest with you, I was not looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to it less on Saturday. And that is the Costco guys, Big Boom AJ, they call him. And unfortunately, I have a 14-year-old son who has YouTube and Twitch, and I know all about these guys. But at a time when you're not selling any tickets, at a time when they have Chicago coming up and they can't even get 3,000 sold in CM Punk's backyard, can't do it. And all I've seen is the promotion of Big Boom AJ, and then QT, I'll make sure I say his name right, Marshall, I believe.
Marshall. That's
And
very nice.
Vince,
Coach, very nice.
I'm not even going to play this for you, because it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds of something that I never thought I would see. But the Costco kids, and I'll give them credit, they built a following on TikTok. Now, most people that are following them have to be just mindless idiots, because they have 2 words that they say: boom and doom. And then they focus on 2 pieces of food at Costco, the double chunk chocolate cookie and the chicken bake. That's their entire thing. 15 seconds has lasted way too long for them. But now, what does QT Marshall do? He takes their theme song, changes the words, and on the AEW account, put out a full music video talking trash on Big Boom AJ. Vince, I can't even imagine walking into a room with you and Vince McMahon writing a show and saying, hey guys, by the way, what do you think about this idea? And either one of you going, hell yeah, not only are we going to do it, we're going to do music videos, multiple shows, and it will end in a match before the pay-per-view. Your thoughts, Vince?
You know, Coach, again, I'm gonna find the silver lining on this. I really am, Coach, because, Coach, I am all for publicity stunts. And let's face it, Coach, right now, AEW could really use a big publicity stunt. They need some way, somehow, to get attention on themselves. That's what people didn't understand with David Arquette. But here was the difference, Coach. When, first of all, David Arquette beat Eric Bischoff. He didn't beat a wrestler. Second of all, when David Arquette won the title, David Arquette wanted to get rid of it as quickly as he wanted, because he knew it. Oh my God, what am I going to do now? But Coach, we also knew this. This is the part that people don't talk about.
Okay.
David Arquette wins the title. The next day, we're on the cover of USA Today. The same week, Arquette is bringing the title, the WCW title, to his wife's movie set, where Kurt Russell, Kevin Costner, and Courtney Cox have the WCW title, and guess what it cost us, Coach? 0. That's a publicity stunt. So my point is, yes, they need a publicity stunt. I get it. This is not it. This is such a low-level publicity stunt. It's going to get them nowhere. And this is all speculation, Coach, but I would speculate that Tony is a huge mark for these guys. He knew that the one guy had a background in wrestling. I got the checkbook, guys. What's it going to cost? So this is really for Tony's entertainment. I get publicity stunt. This ain't it, man.
So a couple of things, Vince. You just said that so well. The video that Big Boom AJ put into his promo about, and basically it was funny because we always tease that Tony Khan writes for the internet, that he reads his Twitter and bases. And literally in every promo events that they've put out, it's like, we understand. We read the comments on social media. We know what you're saying about us. I'm like, that's where you're going to start? And then the video of him in the ring kind of reminds me of, I don't know, me when I was training after I had been there for 3 or 4 years. It's terrible. It's like the worst clothesline ever. I'm like, and it's clearly a shoot, because they're like the lights are dark, and I'm like, and then he does a power slam. I'm just, what are we doing? But on the other side, Vince, if you're QT and you want to be taken seriously, and they approach you about this, and you put it had to be a full day shoot, because I know I'm going to send it to you after the show. I didn't want to embarrass you by sending it to you and have your mind pop off your shoulders. It had to be. It's like a legitimate music video. Like, it's a full thing. Like, they're in 8 different locations, and I'm like, they spent a lot of time on this
and money. What about the cost of that? Coming right off of the Guns N' Roses November Rain. You talk about, man. I mean, Coach, listen, you're a very, 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 very successful businessman, and I'm sure, man, with every dollar you spend, there's got to be some kind of a return. The money that man throws away with nothing coming back. I don't know how you become a billionaire that way. I just don't understand it.
It is the way his dad makes money. Is almost like a cash register. It's kind of like the way Jeff Bezos makes money. Is they have businesses that, without getting too far into the weeds, never stop selling.
Yeah.
A down market is not going to phase how he makes money. And so I fully contend that AEW is a complete tax write-off for his dad.
I've said that.
I really, really do. So I just don't know when it's going to stop. When does the checkbook stop being open? Because if I'm his dad and I just flip on the TV and I say, okay, what did I spend today? I paid for this. I paid for this. And I don't give a damn how many Twitch or TikTok followers you have. We talked about the other day, didn't we? The Travis Scott Triple H thing and bringing him to the first. Is the Travis Scott fan base going to make a difference for Monday Night Raw? That's what you have to ask yourself when you do anything like this.
Yes.
Is the big Costco guys fan base going to now become fans of AEW?
Yeah.
Clearly they're banking on yes. But it's almost it's embarrassing to me, because these guys, when you talk about 15 seconds, they were just on the Tonight Show, and Jimmy Fallon was ready to kick them off the stage.
Yeah.
I've never seen a group, Vince, they have 2 words, and I'm not kidding you. If people have never seen them, they say boom and doom. That's it. And then they say it over and over. So when they do an interview, they always go back to the same thing. They've got no creativity. They don't know how to cut a promo. All they do is boom and doom. And I feel bad because their kids are a part of this. But Vince, at some point, you got to add layers to your game, and they have zero.
Coach, you and I mean, my God, we've been around, the boys like for so long. I mean, Coach, I always think of these things because I know the boys. How much of this is a rib on Tony Khan? how much of this is one of the boys saying, hey, I'm going to pitch these guys? Come on, Coach. Like, are you going to sit there and tell me that's not a possibility?
Until this moment, I did not even think
You
about it.
can't see
But
Chris.
now
You
it feel-
can't
oh
see
my
Chris
God.
Jericho telling one of his buddies, "Hey man, did you see these Costco guys? I'm gonna pitch them to Tony. I bet you he puts them on the." You can't see that happening.
Vince, you just changed my life. Literally all the thoughts I've had all week. And you just changed everything. I just thought, oh my God, now it's the greatest thing ever. Now I'm all
Absolutely,
in.
yes,
I'm all in.
absolutely,
I'm all
absolutely,
in.
very
Oh,
doable, Coach. Very doable.
very doable. All they had to do was show Tony their TikTok following.
That's it.
it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
And
He
he used
ribbed
to be
himself.
Tony. He used to wrestle. Tony, this guy used to wrestle. Come on, man.
Oh man, that's why you're so damn smart. Oh my gosh. Oh, we've got to do better. Coming up on Backstage Pass, by the way, more incredible content over there. If you're not a subscriber, you need to, because we're talking about, have you seen the ticket sales for Monday Night Raw in January on Netflix? We'll talk about that. Also, what did Eric Bischoff say that is so funny to the rest of us that have been inside the business? We talk about that. And also, two of the biggest stars in AEW apparently want nothing to do with the company anymore. Is it for real? Join us over on Backstage Pass. This is the Coach and Bro Show.